earlier video, I made a whistle-stop tour of my Great Wall of Maps, which is right here in front of me. And now I'm focusing on those maps that best show the emergence of the wall in Europe, beginning with the Ortelius. This has been extracted from a grand atlas, and the atlas was the brainchild of Abraham Ortelius, geographer, cartographer, publisher, and businessman. He lived in Antwerp, today's Belgium, in the later part of the 16th century. This was the age of discovery. Explorers and mariners, merchants and missionaries were leaving the ports of Europe by sailboat, headed for the most distant and then unknown parts of the world. And the fortunate ones returned years or even decades later with much new knowledge. Ortelius collected this new geographical information, processed it, and produced maps of every known region and continent. And most importantly, he printed the maps in the same artistic style, the same size, and bound them together in the same single volume. He had invented the world's first atlas. He called his magnum opus the Theatrum, the theatre of the whole world. It was a bestseller. It enjoyed 31 editions in 7 languages between 1570 and 1612, and selling more than 5,000 copies made Ortelius one of the wealthiest men in Antwerp. It was also a huge book, the thickness of a clenched fist. Every region was headed by a page of introductory text, and this includes the first printed Chinese characters seen in Europe. And then China, for the first time in 1584. And in the cartouche here, we can learn who authored the map. The contributor was Ludovicio Giorgio. He was a Portuguese Jesuit who spent several years resident in Macau, South China. And on his return to Europe, he authored a description of China, which included a map. Ortelius obtained that map and adapted it in the style of the Theatrum. And if I rotate it this way, the China as we know it becomes more familiar. And we're now going to travel across Ming Dynasty China towards our destination. And as we do so, we traverse a fertile land, cross many rivers, and go past many fortified towns and cities, and reach the largest of them all, Peking, which is the Cantonese pronunciation of Beijing. And just to the north of the capital, we see and read about the wall. The wall is depicted as a piecemeal structure, wall, mountain, with some towers. And it's described as being 400 leagues in length. Now, I think that depiction and description arouse 2 questions. The first is this merely an illustration to convey that the wall crosses the mountains? Or does it actually reflect the layout of the wall on the land, being a combination of man-made and natural defences? The wall builders, in reality, did borrow the landscape. They incorporated cliffs and steep mountains into the line of defence, and by doing so, they saved material, money, and manpower. The second question concerns the wall's purported length. Just imagine the owner of this beautiful atlas, for example in England, opening this up for the first time and studying the map of China. They see a wall of 400 leagues, 1,200 English miles. That's 15 times the length of a wall they may know as Hadrian's Wall. Could it be true? The Chinese Wall, a myth, an exaggeration, or reality? In future, maps would provide the answer to that question.